Well, a hearty good evening to everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, April 15th. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here. Start by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Entman.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jamison. Here. Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here. Thank you. In the City of Sioux Falls, we start our City Council meetings with a prayer, with an invocation. We're very, very blessed to have Care Pastor Mike Peterson of Celebrate Church. Celebrate has over 5,000 parishioners there that go to Celebrate. So we're very, very blessed to have you here tonight, Care Pastor Mike. What we'd ask you to do is to stand, and then after Mike is done, we'd ask you to remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Again, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you so much for today. Thank you. God, I just learned tonight that City Council did not meet last Tuesday, so I just want to thank you for the freedom to vote. God, thank you. May each of us take that responsibility very seriously. But God, I personally want to thank you for the opportunity to give my life away for this wonderful city called Sioux Falls. God, be with these leaders tonight. Guide them. May their decision-making process not be one out of self-motivation, but out of their care and concern for others, for those in Sioux Falls. Help them to see beyond the surface and to be able to see how their decisions impact people. God, you care about people. People are what matters. God, tonight I want to pray just regarding the three proclamations. Lord, speaking of people that matter, we thank you for the members of our military, for their service. God, we also remember their families and kids today. Give them strength on a daily basis. Right now, there are families that are apart because of a parent's service to our wonderful country, and we pray for unity for those families. May their love for each other be felt over the miles between them. God, we also pray for the families that are dealing with health problems and maybe even grief or loss from a medical condition called congenital diaphragmatic hernia. God, be with those families. Comfort them. Wrap them in your loving arms. And finally, God, we pray for the folks at the Volunteers of America, whether they are staff, volunteers, or clients. God, we lift them up. May it be an amazing week for them. Thank you for all they do here in Sioux Falls and throughout the state. This is your meeting tonight, God. Bless these men and women. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Well, welcome. Major Meyer, would you mind coming forward? And come on, purple up, people. Come on up. First, I want to introduce Major Tricia Meyer. Would you mind just introducing these folks as a whole, please?
Yes. So the group that you have here tonight is military members and their families, most notably the military kids that you see here. They come from National Guard, active duty. We also have Sheila Snyder, who's the state coordinator for Operation Military Kids. And then we have Courtney is from the Helpline and the Military Coalition in Sioux Falls, and then we have some of our ladies that are here from the both the American Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary Post 15. I think, and we had a couple. We had two members from Wells Fargo here earlier, but they had to leave. So,
Major Meyer, thank you. The proclamation reads: whereas thousands of brave American service members from South Dakota have demonstrated their courage and commitment to freedom by serving the armed forces of the United States of America all around the globe. Whereas a great number of these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines have left families with children behind while serving. Whereas over 1,500 military children and youth in Minnehaha and Lincoln counties alone have at least one parent currently serving in the armed forces. Whereas these children are a source of pride and honor to all of us in Sioux Falls and South Dakota. And it is only fitting that we take time to celebrate their spirit and recognize their contributions, letting our men and women in uniform know that while they are taking care of us, we are taking care of their children. Whereas the recognition of April 15, 2014 as Purple Up for Military Kids Day will allow us to pay tribute to military children for their commitment, struggles, and unconditional support of our troops. Because when parents serve in the military, their children serve too. Whereas a special day to salute our military children will encourage support for Operation Military Kids, Guard, Reserve, and active duty military families, and other organizations established to provide local support to military children and families. Families that are in our very own backyards. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim April 15, 2014 as Purple Up for Military Kids Day in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I urge all citizens and business and government leaders to observe this day by wearing purple in order to salute, honor, support, and thank our military children in the community. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all. Nice job. Is the Stoltz family here? Welcome. Welcome. It's good to have you here. I've got Brett and Donna and Brody and Zoe Stoltz, and I'm going to read a proclamation with your permission. Great. Whereas 1 in every 2,500 pregnancies are diagnosed with congenital diaphragmatic hernia, otherwise known as CDH. Whereas, since 2000, it is estimated that over 500,000 babies have been born with CDH. However, only 50% of those babies survived. Whereas, CDH is common as spina bifida and cystic fibrosis. However, very few people know about it or are aware of it. Whereas, 1,600 babies are born with CDH every year in the United States, with an average of 5 in South Dakota born each year. Whereas, there are many people living in South Dakota who have been diagnosed with and have survived their CDH, although many families in South Dakota have endured the horrible pain and grief associated with the loss of loved ones with CDH. Whereas, those with CDH often endure multiple surgeries and possible medical complications beyond their diagnosis that include heart defects, pulmonary complications, gastric and intestinal problems, developmental delays, and may require respiratory and medicinal support for years. Whereas, raising awareness of this congenital defect will bring the acceptance and support for those suffering with it and will help advocate for urgently needed medical research and advances. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim April 19th, 2014 as the Day of Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness in Sioux Falls. And if I could just ask you to hold your applause just a little bit. Brett or Donna, tell me about your family situation, please.
So our son right here, Brody, is a CDH survivor. He was born on August 18th, and we actually are born and raised in South Dakota, and we were out of the state when we were diagnosed, and we came back home because back home can serve us and can serve our son. And we became, there's a national organization, there's several national organizations, but we became a member of the South Dakota chapter of that organization called Cherubs because we need more awareness and we need more people to be aware of what's going on and support the people, the survivors and the non-survivors.
And how's Brody doing?
He's doing all right. He's going to start kindergarten next year here, so we're doing good.
Great. Well, Brody, we're going to give you a round of applause, as well as your mom and dad and sister, as well as we're going to recognize other folks that have CDH. Okay? Everybody? Dennis, Wendy, and Rebecca? Oh, you bet. Thank you. Thank you. Dennis, thanks for being here. The proclamation reads, whereas Volunteers of America Dakotas is celebrating 94 years of service this year in the Sioux Falls community. Whereas Volunteers of America started in 1920 providing prison ministries, and in 1923 providing child care centers to serve families. Whereas Volunteers of America Dakotas is recognized as one of the longest running nonprofit child care agencies in the nation. Whereas the 12th annual benefit breakfast known as Rise and Shine will be held on May 1st, 2014 to share successes and goals and to continue fulfilling the human service needs in South Dakota by helping people help themselves. Whereas in 2014, Volunteers of America Dakotas has 4 impact areas: children, youth and families, behavioral health, developmental disabilities, and homeless. 412 professionally trained employees and over 480 volunteers. Whereas in fiscal year 2013, Volunteers of America Dakota served over 11,000 children, youth, adults, and families throughout South Dakota who are striving to fulfill their hopes and dreams for a better and brighter future. Whereas Volunteers of America Dakota's mission as a nonprofit, spiritually based organization is to reach out to empower people of all ages to become healthier, self-sufficient, productive members of their community. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2014, which is also that Rise and Shine Breakfast Day, as Volunteers of America Dakota's Day in Sioux Falls. And would you mind just sharing a little bit about the Rise and Shine Breakfast?
Sure. Rise and Shine is our annual fundraising event that will take place at 7:30 a.m. on Thursday, May the 1st. We will have somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 people coming out there to enjoy a time together and to celebrate the support of the communities in South Dakota like Sioux Falls.
Thank you. And before I leave, we've got a special group in the audience. We've got a scout troop here. Would you folks stand up real quick along with your leaders? Thank you. First, you have to tell us where you're from. What's the scout troop?
Troop 46.
And where are you from?
Hope Lutheran.
Hope Lutheran. So Troop 46, Hope Lutheran, will give you a round of applause as well. Thanks for being here. Council will now move to the consent agenda. Any motions or changes to the agenda?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Rolfing.
Been a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded as well. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I'd like to pull 4 items from the consent calendar. The first one is the Convention Center on kitchen floor replacement at $109,715. And then Parks, the canoe access, $11,950. And then facilities management, window replacement, $48,700. And then finally, water rec, sewage lagoon sludge removal at $399,982.
Very good. There's been a motion to approve the other items. Any other changes, Council? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Now move to our regular agenda.
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Entenmann.
Then a motion approved by Councilor Erbenbach, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any changes? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll now move to our public input portion of the meeting. This is an opportunity for you to come up, engage the council on any topic you want. All we'd ask is that you just keep it to 5 minutes or less, and then just introduce yourself to the people of our town. Would anybody want to engage the council? Well, very good. Thank you very much. We're still pleased to have you here. We'll now move on to those consent agenda items. Councilor Staggers, the first one was a convention center kitchen flooring replacement.
Yes, oh, good. Tracy, I guess the first question I have is trying to recall how old the convention center is and why we would need a flooring replacement at this time.
Yes, thank you. Tracy Turback with the Finance Office. I do serve as the liaison to the convention center, so if you're wondering why a finance guy is up here talking about a flooring project, that's the reason. The old floor, actually there's a couple different layers of flooring in that kitchen facility. It was originally tile and had been overlaid with epoxy. I'm told the epoxy was delaminating from the floor or from the tile beneath it, and it was creating an issue. I know for health inspections they were taking exception to that. And I think what maybe expedited the process to put an entirely new flooring system in there was a under the floor plumbing repair project that was done last year. And so it was patched up at that time, but now it's time to fix it right and put the proper flooring in there.
Do you know how much that is per square foot?
I guess I didn't calculate the per square foot. I know that it is quite expensive, the project, as flooring projects go. Part of that is due to the complexity of the project. The kitchen is a functioning kitchen, and in order to complete this project, they will actually break it into six phases so that they can get in, do part of the flooring, get out, and get back in when there are windows of opportunity within the convention center's schedule so that they can continue to function and serve banquets and those types of events while they're there. So that's the probably the most complicating factor, but that will in each time when they move in, they've got to disconnect the kitchen equipment, remove it, redo the flooring under it, put it back in, and reconnect it. So it involves a number of subcontractors as well, plumbers, electricians, flooring people, a couple different types of flooring contractors, as well as general construction contractors. So it's not what you might think of as simply replacing the floor coverings and what you might typically consider a typical flooring project. So it's
because
much more than that.
Kind of surprised about the price. That's okay. I guess that's all the questions I have for that.
Any other questions on this item? Can I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
It's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. There is no further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Next is Parks and Rec, River Greenway Improvements, Canoe Access. Don? Councilor?
Yeah, I think we've already voted about $100,000 for two canoe accesses, and the $11,950 right now. What can you explain that, Don?
Yeah, it's the construction administration portion of that project. We have a design fee that we typically do at first, and then this is to ensure that the facilities get constructed per the plans and specifications that we've got. And in this case, we also have several permitting processes that are included with the Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA. Anytime you're working in the river, there's additional forms and permits that need to be processed.
And am I to assume that in the canoe access, this is $100,000 plus $11,950?
Yeah,
Is that right?
the bid was for $100,000, and this is additional cost above and beyond that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Move to approve, Entenmann. Second, Karski.
Been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach? Yes. Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Next is Facilities Management, City Hall and Annex Improvement / City Hall window replacement. Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, I guess my interest was the window replacement. It's not exactly clear how much we're going to be paying for windows at the City Hall. How much are we going to pay?
Eric Jalkin, Facilities Manager for the City of Sioux Falls. This project will be approximately $450,000.
Wait, 450,000?
That's correct. That's correct.
It says here $48,700.
Those are for the design fees. Those are the design fees for the architect.
Okay, so have we voted on the $450,000 before?
Yes, it's part of the CIP program from last year.
Okay. Okay. So one last question here then. The $450,000, then we'd also add on the $48,700. Is that fair to say?
That will be included in that price.
Oh, in the 450?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Is City Hall considered a historical building? Do we have to go by any type of historical restrictions or anything for windows?
Well, the architect is working with SHPO to get approval for the window replacement. City Hall is part of the downtown historical district.
Thank you.
Councilor Karski.
Kind of noticing a trend here on these agreement for engineering services, and maybe Tracy or somebody can answer this. Typically, we budget for the entire cost of the project. The engineering services seem to be averaging about 10% of the cost of doing the project. Is that pretty typical?
I let Chad answer that.
Good evening, Chad Hebe with engineering. I would say that's a fair estimate of what it usually is on a percentage basis. I would say the higher the construction project, usually the lower the percentage is going to be. But with a small project, the percentage is probably going to be higher because there's just certain things you got to do for every project.
If I could then follow up, so when we pay for the engineering services, are they kind of acting as a construction manager at the same time when we do this, or are they just writing the specs for the design to complete the project?
They usually are. We usually hire them in two phases. The first phase would be to do the design work and put the plans and specifications together. And then typically then we come back and do a construction services agreement. And you could probably estimate that each phase of that's probably 8 to 10%.
And one more, if I may. To follow up on that then, will we typically see the engineering agreement before we see the project, or will we see the contract for the project before we see the engineering?
Well, I believe what you're seeing tonight is for the architect to actually do the plans and specifications for the windows. So you would typically see this agreement first, then we would bid the project, then you would see potentially at the same time the construction services agreement and the award of the contract.
So we could see them several times before it's actually completed.
Typically, it's usually, it's design, construction, administration, and then construction, so 3 times.
Thank you.
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second, Karski.
There's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Entenmann, Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Next is water reclamation, sewage lagoon sludge removal. Councilor?
Yes. $399,982 for removing sludge from a lagoon. I don't know, it seemed quite a bit of money. We could build another lagoon.
We have, I'll just start out by saying that through the wastewater treatment process, sludge is generated. And we have 2 8 million gallon capacity lagoons. And we have our own staff that take that sludge and then land apply it. However, there's a very short window to get that applied. And it's usually in the spring. And then weather permitting, it's in the fall on the land. Once the crops are planted, we don't go in there. Well, the optimal time in the spring, it has to be dry. And last spring was extremely wet. And so we weren't able to do any applications or very little application in the spring. And once again, we were able to do a little bit in the fall. So we are at capacity, and those lagoons have to be cleaned out.
Okay, I guess I'm still surprised about the cost. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of equipment. We have a whole fleet of equipment, but we can't get it done with what we have this year.
Okay.
Move to approve Entman.
Second, Anderson.
Been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski. Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
No.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
That is passed 7-1. Item 22.
Item 22 is the transfer of a 2014 retail liquor license, including Sunday sales, from Lone Star Steakhouse and Saloon of South Dakota Incorporated, Lone Star Steakhouse and Saloon, 1801 West 41st Street, to LSF5 Cowboy Holdings, LLC, Lone Star Steakhouse and Saloon, 1801 West 41st Street, full-service restaurant, CUP not required. Item 23 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Sioux Falls Art Council to be operated at TSP 1112 Northwest Avenue for a fundraiser on April 24th, 2014. Item 24 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Sioux Falls Roller Dolls to be operated at the Multicultural Center, 515 North Main Avenue for a Bacon Fest fundraiser on April 26, 2014. Item 25 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Sertoma Butterfly House in Marine Cove, 4320 South Oxbow Avenue for a fundraiser on May 1st, 2014. Item 26 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation to be operated at Vance Thompson Vision, 3101 West 57th Street for a fundraiser on May 1st, 2014. Item 27 is a special one-day liquor license for Museum of Visual Materials, 500 North Main Avenue, for a special event on May 2nd, 2014. Item 28 is a special one-day wine license request for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated at the following locations: 8th and Railroad Center Lobby, 401 East 8th Street, Bead Company, 319 South Phillips Avenue, CH Patisserie, 309 South Phillips Avenue, Chelsea's Boutique, 321 South Phillips Avenue, Cliffhanger's Gallery, 126 South Phillips Avenue, Cookie Jar, 230 South Phillips Avenue, Great Outdoor Store, 201 East 10th Street, Home Perch, 217 South Phillips Avenue, Lillian's, 311 South Phillips Avenue, NV Salon Studio, 106 West 11th Street, Rayfield's Art and Framing, 210 South Phillips Avenue, Say Anything Jewelry, 524 North Main Avenue, number 104. Simply Perfect, 401 East 8th Street, number 108. Sioux Falls Design Center, 108 West 11th Street. Sticks and Steel, 401 East 8th Street, 118. Young and Richards, 222 South Phillips Avenue. Zanbros, 209 South Phillips Avenue. And Zing, 301 South Minnesota Avenue for the First Friday Wine Walk on May 2nd, 2014. Item 29 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated at 8th and Railroad Parking Lot, 401 East 8th Street for downtown block parties on the East Bank in 2014 on June 6th, July 11th, August 1st, and September 5th. Item 30, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated on Phillips Avenue from 9th to 14th Streets, Main Avenue from 10th to 13th Streets, 13th Street from Main to 1st Avenue, 12th Street from Main to Phillips Avenues, 11th Street from Dakota to Mall Avenues, 10th Street from Main to Mall Avenues, parking ramp by Main and 12th, surface lot behind the diner, and plaza by 12th and Phillips for hot summer nights on July 16th, 2014. Item 31 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated within phases 1 and 2 of Downtown Riverfront from 6th Street to south of 8th Street, including Raven Industries Riverfront and parking lot located at 205 East 6th Street for Downtown Riverfest on August 16th, 2014. Item 32 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Sisters of the Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary to be operated at Falls Park, 305 East Falls Park Drive for the Cinco de Mayo Festa on May 10th, 2014. Item 33 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated, Chef Dominique's, to be operated at Avera Prairie Center, 1000 East 23rd Street, for a chamber event on May 15, 2014. Item 34 is a special one-day wine license for the Democratic Forum of Sioux Falls to be operated at the History Club, 758 South Phillips Avenue, for a fundraiser on May 17, 2014. Item 35 is a special one-day liquor licenses for Hy-Vee Incorporated, all occasions by Hy-Vee, to be operated at The Point is to Serve Church, 506 North Kiwanis Avenue, for weddings in 2014 on May 3rd, June 7th, June 14th, June 28th, and July 26th. Item 36 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Hy-Vee Incorporated, all occasions by Hy-Vee, to be operated at The Point is to Serve Church, 506 North Kiwanis Avenue, for weddings in 2014 on June 21st and July 12th. And item 37 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for South Dakota Achieve, 4100 Southwestern Avenue, for a chamber event on September 9th, 2014.
Thank you very much. Jamie?
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Thanks for reading all those, Tamara. Item 22 is a transfer due to a change in the ownership structure. Items 23 and 30 through 37 are all special one-day requests, and I'd be happy to answer any questions specific to the licensing. There are also some of the applicants present if you have any questions specific to the event themselves. So,
Jamie?
Move to approve Entman.
Second, Anderson.
It's been a motion to approve these items by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 38.
Item 38 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by revising the maximum number of off-sale dealers.
Jamie?
good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. This is a proposal to change the language in section 111.013. It currently caps the number of off-sale licenses at 84. I recently have confirmed with the South Dakota Department of Revenue that we are actually authorized to issue 104, which is 20 more than we currently can issue. So in short, we are proposing that the revision to section 111.013 to change the exact number stated, which is 84, to read the maximum number allowed by SDCL 35-4-10. This language will allow us to increase the number of off-sale licenses as our population increases without having to come before you each time. And I would just remind you that even with this amendment, if it passes, you would still have to individually approve each request that comes before you. I would entertain any questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Folks, this is a second reading. Would anybody want to speak to this item? Very good. Councilor Jameson.
Move to approve.
Thank
Jameson.
you.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 39.
Item 39 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 124, Vehicles for Hire.
Welcome.
Good evening, Jim David, council staff. Agenda item 39 is a product of 14 months of work by the Public Services Committee that included 9 committee meetings with public input, 1 working session, and several one-on-one meetings. The committee also looked at 7 other Midwest cities for guidance as how to proceed with the existing vehicle for hire ordinance. These cities included Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Fargo, Lincoln, Omaha, Rochester, and St. Paul. Last month, the committee finalized their recommendation and approved the proposal before you tonight for second reading. This recommendation includes changes to inspections. Current ordinance requires that an owner of a vehicle for hire company conduct inspections every 3,000 miles or 3 months, whichever is first. Under this proposal, an additional inspection would be required by a certified annual or certified mechanic, although a DOT inspection can be substituted. The committee also reviewed Section 3, taxi cab rates, and how it compared to other cities. In this scenario, a 10-mile trip with 2 passengers is compared from Sioux Falls at $35.80 to Des Moines at $25.80 to a low of $24 in Rochester. It's important to note that Fargo, Lincoln, and Omaha allow their taxi cabs to set their own fares pending the oversight approval. After review of the current fare allowed, the committee decided to eliminate the fuel surcharge, which is an upfront fee that may be charged by the taxi cab in addition to the fare. This is figured by adding 10 cents per trip for every increase of 15 cents in the price of gasoline over $1. This is currently $1.70. A taxi cab must send notice to the planning department with at least one receipt justifying the increase or the decrease. This proposal also includes consumer protections. A taxi cab fare must be conspicuously displayed in the taxi cab. This includes the maximum that's allowed under ordinance and also the actual amount that's charged by the taxi cab. A detailed receipt must be made available by request. Overcharging is prohibited, and a direct route is required unless requested by a passenger. This proposal also addresses taximeters. The proposal requires an inspection and a seal of the taximeter by the city or an entity that is designated by the city. Currently, every regional city requires a sealing of the taximeter except for Des Moines. The changes were also made to the business license. A business license shall not be issued until there are commercial plates, a sales tax license, they are in good standing with the Department of Labor, and all drivers are licensed with the city. And finally, the driver background check. This proposal puts into ordinance what is already in practice when it comes to the background check process done by the police department. The background check involves crimes such as those involving drugs, hit and run, DUI, violent crimes, and others. This proposal will not impact the maximum allowed fares, the business license fee, the driver's license fee, or the minimum limits of insurance coverage. The committee did decide to have an effective date of October 1st of 2014 to allow for both the city and those that are regulated under this ordinance time to prepare for its significant changes. I'd be happy to entertain any of your questions.
Jim, great job. Again, folks, second reading. Would anybody want to speak to this item? Yes, welcome, sir. Just state your name, please.
My name is David Daly.
Come on up, David. Thank you.
Was a driver for Sioux Falls Taxi. There's a couple parts of this I'd like to speak about. One is the taxi meters. The other is the maintenance. I worked for Sioux Falls Taxi and Yellow Cab in the past. At Yellow Cab, I never had a problem with my meter. When I switched to Sioux Falls Taxi, none of the meters in any of the vehicles I drove were the same. They changed at different increments. They changed without even moving. You have the time off and it just sit there and still rack up the time. And repeatedly asking the owner to adjust or fix the meters, and for 6 months he didn't do anything. And same with a lot of the repairs. A lot of the vehicles with Sioux Falls Taxi are in need of repair, and I can't get them to do some of the major repairs that need to be done. Be a good reason for both of those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to speak to this item? Yes, welcome.
Hello, Tally Kinsley with Yellow Cab.
Your first name again, please?
Tally Kinsley with Yellow Cab, co-owner of Yellow Cab. I'd just like to state that when we first addressed the City Council, our concern was that the process of obtaining a taxi license in the City of Sioux Falls was very easy, too easy. The application didn't require enough information, that there was too many loopholes and expenses being bypassed. And since then, as a result of us approaching the City Council, the entire ordinance has been reevaluated And a lot of things, a lot of other subjects came up, and other companies or other operators made implications, as well as I did, made implications about meters being tampered with, customers being overcharged, cars being unsafe, licensing not being appropriate, and that kind of thing. And it kind of took the focus off of the actual application process, which I think many of these things could be fixed with a renewal of the application itself. If the application required more information and that information be checked, cross-referenced, and enforced, it would alleviate most of the problems that have come up with the ordinance itself. Our main concern is losing the fuel surcharge. We pay, as the company owners, we pay 100% of the fuel. And if we were to lose that, and at the same time we're being required to seal the meters, outsource our inspections, basically what's being said to us is you have to lower your rates and raise your cost of expenses, or your expenses of owning the company and running the company at the same time. Our drivers are all paid commission. I have minimum wage laws that I have to comply with. If the ordinance is approved the way it is read as a whole right now, we're stepping backwards for inflation process. We're lowering our rates, we're raising our cost of operating the business, and the inflation is still rising. We've sent letters and made several suggestions about compromises, ways we could get around that. Instead of annual inspection, we have 22 cars. If all 22 cars became due for an annual inspection at the same time, when would that be due? How much time would be considered? If we can get them into a mechanic and get them fixed and get them, back, what is the time allowance for that? There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of, if these go through, how are they going to be enforced? And I think the key thing is who's enforcing them. And not only are the cost of some of these items going to increase for us, there's been no mention of giving us a rate increase, raising the drop charge, compromising on the fuel surcharge. I've suggested maybe we started at a different starting point, use a different formula. I mean, there's all kinds of options that I think could resolve some of these items. And to just flat out lose the surcharge is going to kill us, frankly. And it's the only way we have to regain some of the costs. And I just think that's going to hurt us financially a lot. And a lot of the things about permanently marking the cars and that kind of thing, that's not really required right now. So as far as the expense of that, for instance, we paint our cars yellow. To buy a car is one thing. To get it cab ready is another $1,500, $1,600 per car. The time that's involved in that. And if we had to have, just say, for instance, because my mind is saying, okay, if the whole fleet becomes due for an inspection, whether it be the sealing of the meters or the safety inspections, is that going to become due every year in January? Do we have to have all 20 cars inspected in January? And if we do, what's the repercussion? How much time do we have to get the car fixed? Who fixes it? Does it have to be re-inspected? There's a lot of afterthought to this that I don't think has really been thought out, To seal the meters, every time we change the tires on the car or work on the transmission of a car, do we have to get your permission to break the seal, to change? You see what I'm saying? It would have to be recalibrated, resealed, and there's a lot of maintenance that gets done on the cars. And so if we go in every year and have an inspection done to make sure all the meters are sealed, my question is who seals them, at whose expense? What happens if we have to break recalibrate the meter after we've worked on the car? Then do we have to have them resealed? And if you do inspect them and the seal is broken and the meter is accurate, are there any repercussions for that? If the seal is broken and the meter is inaccurate, is there any repercussions for that? Who's enforcing it? You know, and a lot of this could be done if a lot of the information is required on the application and the applications themselves are cross-checked, evaluated for accuracy, and then enforced. You know, and I also asked for if we could have inspections to make sure that the cars have all the permits, licensing, and everything that's required in them before they're put into operation. And that conversation turned into safety inspections. So
I think the council understands what you're saying. Thank you for your testimony. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this? Please come forward.
Thank you very much and good evening.
You're welcome.
My name is Brent Kinsley. I'm co-owner of Yellow Cab here in Sioux Falls. And I just wanted to address the council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate all the hard work that has been gone into this proposed ordinance. However, I think that it is very naively written by people that first of all, we're not talking about those other 6 cities. We're talking about Sioux Falls, South Dakota. There's the way the cab business works in a lot of those cities. Those drivers are independent contractors. That saves the owner all the related costs of, you know, matching 941, you know, your quarterly taxes and Social Security and all the stuff that goes along with it. We with the fuel surcharge, okay, right now the maximum rates that was put up there shows the maximum allowable rates charged, and that tops out at they say it's $3.50 a mile, but it actually if you work it out, the drop charge is good for the first 10th mile, and then when the ordinance was written, they split it into ninths. So, and currently right now, Yellow Cab charges $2.60, which is the drop charge in the ordinance, $1.70 for the fuel surcharge, and then actually it comes out to $1.98 a mile. So you can take that 10-mile drive that was used as an example, and you can take $10 right off that. That I believe that figure was $36 or $36.80. You can take. I took 3 of my cabs, and I run a 10-mile route on the interstate, and rates ran $26 to $26.44. Now, the reason that the difference between 22 cents can be this far. You pull up in front of somebody's house, and it could be, you know, $2. You pull up one more sidewalk square, and that could be just where the meter's going to click. So there's that 22 cents is, you know, it's a matter of inches. The fuel surcharge, just to give you an idea, right now fuel is at $3.66, and that's what we're currently basing our fuel surcharge on. But I'd like to point out that let's get my glasses on here, just pardon me. I can see on 5/17 of 2013, the price of gas was $4.09 a gallon. That made the fuel surcharge $2. Going back to January 26th of 2009, fuel was $1.89.9. So you can see that there's been a huge swing, and it continues. And this knife cuts both ways. When the price of fuel goes up, we're afforded the luxury of you know, just changing the drop charge, and then sending the city this and letting you guys know what we're doing. And you know, it goes up and down, and I've got the documents right here. We haven't been in front of the city for a rate increase since 2005, when this latest was adopted and when I was made aware that there was a fuel surcharge. Between me and Tally, we've got each been there 26 years as owners. It's been in the family for 50 years. We have quite an extensive knowledge of the cab business and how it works. And I wish that, we could, somehow give you guys that experience, because this is, I think you'd understand. I did invite the whole council and the committee members to my business to look at and try to get an idea of how much overhead there is. And thank you for the ones that did show up. I hope that I didn't do a whole bunch, but anyway, we've got huge overhead. We have brick and mortar. I've got, right now I got 48 total employees. 42 of them are drivers, and we have 23 cabs. And I got a list of all of them. All of these people are considered employees, and we pay all the South Dakota taxes and all the federal taxes that are due. It's a huge cost. The fuel surcharge is very important, and it's good for the passengers and for the company. Like I said, we'll be forced to go right to the max. So basically, you'd be taking $1.70 off that $38 or $36 instead of $10. And and it's one of
Brett, I want to thank you. Folks, again, we try to limit the testimony to 5 minutes with both Tally and with Brett. They were well over 6. I think we understand you're very concerned about the surcharge, the expenses to your firm. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item? Son, yes, please, welcome.
Joseph Goodface, Falls Metro Taxi.
Could you state your first name, please?
Joseph Goodface.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just adjust this there. One thing that that was displayed up there, it's also put in here, the labeling on the cabs, as far as like the name, phone numbers, all that. Having them permanently marked is probably the best idea that's come around here. Right now, there are about 6 cab companies, or maybe more, that don't have any stickers at all, any permanent details. So let's say, like, someone were to call from Bucks, and they call it a certain cab company that they only use. But yeah, someone else comes up, they don't have any stickers, no details, so they don't know who they are, but they can say that they work for that company. For example, I had a gentleman that called specifically from my company come out to Grand Falls Casino. Well, there was another company, no details on, grabbed them from Grand Falls Casino. Now, I usually charge a flat rate to go out to the casino and back. Well, they charged them full price. Well, that full price wound up being almost about $60. Well, that's pretty much about double the price of what I don't normally charge. But yet they claimed that they worked for me. Well, I'm a single operator. I don't have any employees right now. But yet they lied to the customer, and the customer found out because they called me and asked me if this person actually worked for me. And I told them no, I don't have any employees. So they were, as you can imagine, pretty angry. As far as the fuel surcharge goes, I'm actually agreement it will actually hurt the industry quite a bit. So that actually covers a lot of gas charge. If we were running, about 10 hours a day, even during the winter, that's a big cost. Because we're out there in the winter, we can't turn our cars off, so we're burning up a lot of fuel. So we have to somehow cover for that cost. Now I see here on 124.061, as far as the applications for the driver's license for vehicle prior, to be the age of 18, the insurance won't even so much as even think about it. They'll just tell you no. Now, one thing I would like to recommend is drug and alcohol testing on an annual basis. Because in the past, I've been told that customers have actually had drivers in the past that have been like basically stoned, or even though they smelled the alcohol either on their breath or in their cabs. And that's pretty concerning, especially during the daytime when there's no real drinking going on at all, except for at night. So I would actually like to propose that, if all possible. And let's see here. Now the display of the license, I think that's actually a really good idea. One I think is, how would that, how would that go exactly? I mean, a photo, like just a regular photo ID, or is that just a picture, or how is that? How does that work, or it's just like going to work? Because displaying the license, with the photo gives, it's pretty safe. That way you actually know who you're actually driving with. Now we're talking about safety and concern for the customers. Now, usually on the weekends you get quite a bit, drunk people. They're so intoxicated, they don't know where they're at, what they want to do. But yeah, if say they hand you a credit card, well, that credit card bounces. They don't have anywhere else to get money from or anything else. So they decide to just jump your car, just jump right out. And you don't have their ID or anything else. I mean, they pretty much just took like a $26 ride for free. And you don't have any pictures of them, no cameras or anything. So I was wondering if it would be also proposed to put some kind of surveillance cameras inside the cabs, not only for driver safety, but after the incident from last year where I'm sure everyone's heard, from that happened like a year ago where basically a child was, hurt by a driver. I'm not going to say who, but that's also for safety for the customers too, just in case, they get ripped off or vehicles are wobbling back and forth. They're not really working too well, but yet you have no proof of it. Surveillance cameras will actually help safety of the driver plus the passenger. Because I know pretty soon that I will actually be installing one myself.
Joseph, thank you very much for your testimony tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wanted to speak to this item? Welcome.
Steve Beisman, formerly of Superior Taxi. I originally started my taxi company in 2008. There was a little bit of a need for the clientele that I serviced at that time, and I shut it down August 1st of last year. We shut it down because of a lot of these things. A lot of these things are changing, so it's great. Jim David and the Taxi Task Force have done an absolutely outstanding job, and they've done it in a short amount of time. But I still see loopholes. Every industry has its own problems. Every business is going to fight with every other business inside that industry. I don't think we're going to solve that. You're never going to have a perfect solution for everybody. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not even in this industry anymore. My interest is public safety. And I think even with the loopholes that I found just tonight in what we're proposing, to pass, I think everything can be solved to everyone's satisfaction with compromise if we focus on the enforcement. If we can enforce and level the playing field, everybody can be happy with the compromise. Nobody's going to get all of their way. Nobody else is going to get anything pointed against any other companies. Doesn't matter whether you're big or you're small. Everybody has to have a profit margin, but everybody has to keep in mind public safety. So, yeah, that's really all I got to say, other than, you know, thanks to all you guys for all your hard work. And Rex, I know you sat in on a lot of the meetings, and you didn't have to, you know. That was over and above. So, just as a citizen of the public, I guess, I thank you.
Steve, thank you. It was very good. Folks, anybody else want to address the council? Thank you. Council, I'm going to leave it in your hands. We're on item 39, second reading. Any discussion, Council? Councilor Bach?
I guess as a member of the committee, I would just remind my colleagues that the committee has tightened the application process. It's really strict at this point. The requirements for being a taxi company, the requirements for being a taxi driver are much stricter under the revisions. It would also remind us that the consumer protections are strong in this ordinance, that became, as Tally said, we kept pulling this whole thing apart line by line. We did, and we got to the point where we became very concerned about consumer protections, and those are there. And yes, there will be changes to the way that companies do business in Sioux Falls. If they're going to be a taxi company in Sioux Falls, there will be different ways of doing business, and we have acknowledged that as a committee, and we've been adamant about it. There are things that need to change in this business in Sioux Falls, and we want that to happen. Then I would remind my colleagues finally that the October 1st date will help us answer some of these questions administratively, that the administration and the police department and code enforcement in particular will be involved with the enforcement process. That's been one of our number one concerns as a committee all along, is that we can put any kind of ordinance we want out there, but if we're not going to enforce it, it's not going to do us any good. And so the teamwork between our staff members and the administration staff members has been amazing, and we have time to get ready for the changes and to make it work administratively. I would encourage your approval on this ordinance.
Councilor Stegers?
Well, I guess I'm very surprised that we've spent 14 months talking about taxi regulation. My years on the council, I've never had one phone call complaining about taxis. Now, granted, there are problems sometimes, but the public has never notified me. However, when it comes to the city bus service, I hear complaints all the time. And so here we spent 14 months dealing with an issue. Is it really a problem that we have in Sioux Falls? This all came about because one of the taxi companies wanted to try to get an ordinance passed to prevent competition. They didn't like all the taxi companies that we had in Sioux Falls. Well, you can see what has happened. We're going to continue having a lot of taxi companies, but we're now having this additional regulation, which I don't think any of the taxi companies anticipated. I'm not surprised if the taxi companies are against this proposed ordinance. In this ordinance, we continue with price fixing. We should allow a situation as exists in Lincoln, Fargo, and Omaha to let them, taxi companies, set their own fares. But here we have price fixing. When I take a look at the overall proposed ordinance, I think it's going to hurt taxi service in Sioux Falls and be detrimental to the public as a whole. So because of this additional regulation and price fixing and all of this that's going on, I think this ordinance should be defeated.
Council, would anybody? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Question on the fuel surcharge. That seemed to be a lot of the public input here tonight.
and admittedly, I'm not as up to speed as some of you are. What other, and maybe with the city attorney's help, what other industries in the city do we regulate a fuel charge? Do garbage haulers have that? Is there any other service that's... No? I don't see any. Can you guys tune me up, though, or maybe explain the fuel surcharge dropping, what that does?
Councilor Rolfing.
Well, I just did a quick calculation. $1.70, if you take it, divide that, that's a charge on top when they get in the cab. So you divide that by 10 for a 10-mile trip, and then you divide it again by 9, which is the 1/9 of a mile that they charge per there. It would, and maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but that would be about 2 cents a click on a 10-mile trip. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I figured it.
The fuel surcharge is actually an upfront fee, so as soon as you walk into the taxi cab, now if the taxi cab business does have a fuel surcharge, and not all of them do, this is your fee. So you might go 2 miles, it's $1.70.
Then it would be significantly higher.
Plus $1.70 plus whatever your fare is. So it's just added on top of the fare.
What I'm saying though is on a 10-mile trip, they would increase their fare by 2 cents per 1/9 of a mile, and that would make up that $1.70. If it was a 5-mile trip, it would be 4 cents. So we're not talking dollars here in that situation on a trip of any length at all. Would that be correct? With doing my math.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you're talking about. If you increase the fare, because there's a maximum that you can charge, and you're not at that level, you increase it to make up for that. Is that what you're talking about, Councilor?
If there was an increase in their fare on an average 5-mile trip, it would be 4 cents per click per 1/9 of a mile that they would need to increase their rates to make up the $1.70. And most of them are not at the maximum rate that can be charged now anyway.
I just wanted to clarify what I understood about the fuel surcharge. It was put in place because previously taxi companies have had to come to council to ask for their rates to be increased. Now, maximum rate has been set, and as Councilor Rolfing is saying, none of the companies charges that maximum rate that we know of. But they put the fuel surcharge in there when the price of gas started creeping up over $1, as the ordinance reads now. So everything over $1, they get an extra surcharge, and it's in when you get in the cab, you pay $1.70 just for getting in the cab, and that's the fuel surcharge. And I think the committee came down to the point that it wasn't making sense that we were doing that, and then saying that, well, we don't charge the maximum rate. Well, why not? Maybe you need to charge, we're looking at a different business model than the fuel surcharge. We absolutely are. The committee admits that, and that's the way that the committee really wanted to go, is away from the fuel surcharge. Let's be honest about what we're charging, and let's charge the rates as rates and not add this extra funky number in there. My wording.
Council, would anybody want to make a motion?
So moved. Move to approve.
So a motion to approve this item by Councilor Rex Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Yeah, Councilor Rolfing.
I would also like to add 2 amendments if I could. First one would be a motion to amend the 3rd sentence in section 2 by removing on an annual basis, which is between the words mechanic and the word before.
Is there a second?
Second, Erpenbach.
There's a motion to amend this item by removing on an annual basis between the words mechanic and before, and it has been seconded. Councilor Rolfing?
Yeah, it's just kind of clean up. They've got annualized or annual in there twice, and it could confuse them, confuse the ordinance as to which one really held, or if they had to do it semi-annually, et cetera.
Council, any further discussion on the amendment? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Council Rolfing?
Yes, another amendment, please. A motion to amend Section 22C by deleting residents and inserting the words residents during the last 10 years between the words name and length.
Second, Erpenbach.
Got a motion to amend this item by Council Rolfing, second by Council Urbanbach. What we're doing is we're amending Section 22 by deleting the word residents and inserting residents during the last 10 years between the words name and length. Council Urbanbach?
Mr. Mayor, could the clerk read that amendment so that the public understands what we're saying?
The sentence will now read, make a sworn statement on a form approved by the city giving his or her full name, residences during the last 10 years, length of time he or she has resided in the city, place of previous employment, whether he or she has ever been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor, and whether he or she has been previously licensed as a driver, and if so, where and when, and whether his or her license has ever been revoked or for what cause, and provide any other information required by the city.
Thank you, Tamara.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Council
This
Rolfing.
provides continuity with some of the background checks that are done for drivers so that they can go back 10 years, not just 5.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski. Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That amendment has also passed. Councilor Karski.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend Section 24 by removing "and the signature." So the sentence will now read, every licensed driver of a vehicle for hire shall exhibit his or her license in the vehicle. The license shall be conspicuously displayed and contain a photograph of the licensee.
Second, Erpenbach.
Got a motion by Councilor Karski to amend this amended main motion, and it has also been seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
We now have an amended main motion 3 times. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Staggers.
I guess if I could ask the council members that came up with this proposed ordinance, why we're not following the model of Lincoln, Fargo, or Omaha, where they let the taxis companies decide their own fares. Well, why not that model?
Actually, if you take a look at those cities, they don't just let the taxis change their fares. They still have to be approved by a governing body. In Omaha, it's the state. So there are different governing bodies that do approve any fare changes in those cities.
But, I mean, if I could just ask for a clarification, but you could eventually end up with a taxi company charging this amount, another taxi company charging this amount, and whatever. Isn't that true?
We have that right now. We have taxi companies that charge different rates.
We just set the max.
We're just setting the max rate that any company can charge.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Kursk.
If the other thing, if I could address the fare issue, is taxi companies can change their fare on a daily basis if they wished. We're just giving them the maximum. And the taxi meters allow up to, I believe, 6 different fares within a meter. So they're able to change their fare based on supply and demand at the time of day, week, month, or year.
Okay. If I could just
Sure.
ask one other thing.
Councilor Sayers.
Since we're setting maximum, why is that maximum?
It was there. It was never asked to be changed. It was never addressed.
Did you say, what is it?
No, yeah.
Very good. We've got an amended main motion. We've got good discussion. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the work. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
No.
Aguilar. Anderson.
Yes.
That has passed 7-1. Thank you. Item 40.
Item 40 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 6, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 4800 South Tennis Lane from the RA1 Residential District to the C4 Planned Commercial District, petition number 2014-39, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Michael?
Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper, representing City Planning and Building Services. This particular item, on behalf of the petitioner, we're going to ask that it be withdrawn tonight. Just to give a little explanation, this property is the Wood Lake Athletic Facility. The new owner is proposing some major upgrades of that building and property. And with the recent passage of the Shaped Places zoning ordinance, this action will no longer be required.
Thanks, Mike. It's been a motion to withdraw, or would anybody like to make a motion to withdraw?
So move, Entenmann.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Councilor Erpenbach, for seconding that. A roll call vote, please. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, with the passing of Shaped Places, how does this proceed now? How does this?
This particular property is now designated as institutional, and so the proposed changes will not need a zoning change for them to move forward.
So they won't have to go through any other committees or anything now? It's just automatically done through the administration?
Right, building plan, building permit. There is some discussion of a possible future alcohol license that would come back through for council consideration.
Thank you.
A roll call vote, please, on the motion to withdraw.
Councilmembers Entman, Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0 on 41.
Item 41 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 6, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. A first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2014-37 to Chapter 160.446, Planned Development Districts at 196 East 6th Street, amending the Raven Industries Planned Development District regulations. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Also with this item, on behalf of the applicant, we are asking this to be withdrawn. This is the Gorley Building on East 6th Street, and under the old zoning ordinance, full-service restaurants had to go through a special use permit. Again, with Shaped Places, this will now become designated as part of the downtown plan unit development, and this action will no longer be required.
Would anybody want to
Move to withdraw, Entenmann.
Second, Rolf.
Councilor Entenmann has made a motion to withdraw this item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 42.
Item 42 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 50, Utilities Generally.
Good evening, Ryan Johnson with the City of Sioux Falls Engineering. I'd like to present a proposed change to this section in the City of Sioux Falls ordinances. This ordinance, the way it is currently written, allows individuals who'd like to raise their building to come to city engineering, get a raising permit along with a utility capping permit for their water services and their sanitary sewer services. We found on occasion where the buildings were raised during weather events, which allowed stormwater to enter the sanitary sewer system, sometimes small amounts, sometimes large amounts. This creates a potential for surcharging the sanitary sewer system, backups, and creates a cost to the ratepayers to treat that water. The new language would require a capping service and water service permit or capping permit for both the water and sanitary sewers be obtained and executed before a raising permit could be obtained. Have taken the proposed language modifications to the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board. After some conversation with them, the board approved the changes, and here tonight to present these and answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Ryan. This is a first reading, folks, so you don't have an opportunity to engage the council, but Councilor Staggers, you do.
Are there any charges for these permits?
I believe they're a pretty minimal charge, and I'm not going to know for sure. I think it's a $20 permit charge. Either way, you have to get that permit.
So $20 for water, $20 for sewer?
I believe so.
Okay.
Pardon.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
With this, do we also require a licensed person to actually do the capping? You know, like someone from a water department or, you know, sewer, gas, something like that, a licensed contractor or something?
No. Before the permit can be accepted, a representative from the city, an inspector would go on site. We have inspectors that do this, would visually inspect the repair or cap to make sure it's done properly, and then would allow the raising permit to be obtained.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
Move to set the date of the second reading.
Thank you.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a motion to set a date and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th for this, Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. for this item. It's also been seconded. Thank you, Councilor. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman, Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing. Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Item 43.
Item 43 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. for a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, conveying Tract A of Lot 1 of Carlson's addition to the City of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County, South Dakota, except Lot H1 contained therein.
Chad?
Good evening, Chad Heavey with Engineering. In 2010, we reconstructed 57th Street from Minnesota Avenue to Pembroke Avenue. And during the project, we purchased property and realigned the intersection of 57th Street, Wildwood Circle, and Heatherwood Circle, as it is shown on the diagram in front of you, eliminating the offset. The city no longer needs the remaining land, and the City Council declared this property surplus in November of 2013. The property is 0.52 acres and was appraised at $35,000. This property was offered for sale by sealed bid in February of this year, and we received one bid of $37,513. Tonight is the first reading to convey this property to that bidder, and engineering recommends approval.
Folks who may want to set a date of hearing for second reading Tuesday, May 13th.
So move, Karski.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Karski's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm so sorry. Councilor Rolfing.
I'm sorry. Chad, what will be the zoning on this? Will it be residential? Will it be multifamily? Will it be commercial?
Can be built up.
I don't want to speak for planning. Commercial. I mean, jeez.
Residential.
Residential. I'm sorry.
Mike, residential, right? Okay.
And I will say the parcel or the bid was from the property owner to the south.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Good.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman, Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 44.
Item 44 is a resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards, those boards being Lon Tigular to the Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees, Stephanie Bowman to the Multicultural Center Board of Directors, Stephen Gasper, Kurt Johnson, and Nicholas Surshine to the Planning Commission, and David Zimbeck to the Sioux Falls Sports Authority.
Councilor Aguilar.
Approval.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second, Entman.
Thank you, Councilor Henneman. It's been a motion to approve these folks to serve the people in the various boards by Councilor Aguilar, seconded by Councilor Entman. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Pass 8-0. Item 45.
Item 45 is a resolution approving the release of permanent water main easement located in Tract 3 of Lundstrom's Second Edition in the City of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County, South Dakota.
This water main easement is at the Trail Ridge Retirement Community in the southeast corner of I-229 and Louise Avenue. The water main, the public water main is in this easement, but it is under a covered walkway, which is prohibited by city ordinance. Since this water main provides water to only one building It will not be extended to serve additional customers. We requested of Trail Ridge that they request us to release the easement, and so I'm coming to you asking to have this easement released, which means the water main would now be private and maintained privately.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 46.
Item 46 is a resolution approving the release of permanent easements located in Lot 1A, Block 2 of Thielen Business Center addition to the City of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County, South Dakota.
This easement is south of Benson Road between Career Avenue and I-29. It does not contain any utilities and is no longer needed, and engineering recommends approval.
Thanks, Chad.
Move to approve, Karski.
Second.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman. Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing. Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
That's passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 47.
Item 47 is a resolution adopting the City Council travel policy as amended.
Good evening, Jim David, council staff. Item number 47 amends the council's travel policy to reflect the changes to the city's travel policy that was instituted earlier this year. Most of the changes are housekeeping in nature, with the most significant change involving the use of the travel card and that it cannot be used for food purchases during the travel.
Thanks, Jim. Council?
Move to approve, Entman.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you, Councilor Entman. Thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman. Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski. Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
That's passed 8-0. Item 48.
Item 48 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Brandy Park addition. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Michael?
This is a preliminary plan for the property to be known as Brandy Park Edition. The owner is Dwayne Jackson. The property consists of almost 14 acres. It's located on the south side of West 85th Street and east of Western Avenue. This is one of the areas that we talked last year with the council about wanting to annex and work with the property owners. Mr. Jackson, we went through that process. It has been annexed, and now the next step is to look at the development plan. This plan is showing the potential for approximately 23 single-family residential lots. The utilities will be available to be extended to this area, both water and sewer, from 85th Street and from adjacent residential development. It does meet all the engineering standards, and again, we will look at a future zoning of this property to the single-family residential designation and recommending approval of this preliminary plan tonight.
Thanks, Mike. Did anybody want to speak to this item in the audience? Council?
Move to approve, Entman.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Edmonds made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
That is passed 8-0. Item 49.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Lake Lorraine addition. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a preliminary plan for Lake Lorraine addition. The applicant is Van Busker Companies along with Friesen Development. The property is about 131 acres in size, including the lake. And the purpose is to divide this into lots and along with the right-of-way to allow for the future development of residential, office, and commercial uses. We've talked to the council about this in quite a bit of detail during the annexation, or during the rezoning, I should say, about the concept that's being promoted for this area. Because of the scale of this development, one of the requirements that we have is a traffic impact study has to be done by the applicant. And we spent quite a bit of time recently talking to the applicants, along with their consulting engineers and our city staff, on the details of the traffic study and the impacts. And that helps tell us what the width of the street should be, where the traffic signals should be located, in addition to future bike trails and those kind of things. We modified the alignment of the roads based on that traffic study. One of the main changes was to change the alignment of Terry Avenue going into Lake Lorraine. And one of the other interesting concepts that the applicant has agreed to work on in the future is looking at the idea of putting bike lanes along Terry Avenue, which extends down to 41st Street, as an idea of traffic calming. A neighborhood meeting has been held by the applicants early on in this development process, and we will continue to work with Terry Avenue property owners with this idea of the bike lanes as this progresses forward. So we've worked through the comments of the traffic study. We've reached an agreement again on the right-of-way, the traffic signals. The main traffic will be directed from 26th Street to the north, as well as on Marion Road in 2 different locations. So it does meet our engineering requirements, and we're recommending approval of this preliminary plan tonight.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Thank you, Council.
Move to approve, Karski.
Second Aguilar.
Councilor Ruffing's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Sue Aguilar. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mike, you said you had some neighborhood meetings. Any input from the neighborhood?
No negative input. The applicant actually held the meeting, and then again, when we went through the rezoning, we notified all the property owners by letter, but we've not had any negative comments.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Rolfing? Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 50.
A resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Annexation 2014-214, Canterbury Heights.
This is a request for annexation. The property owner is North Star Development, LLC, and the applicant that's representing the owners is Mr. Pat Beckman. This consists of just over 26 acres of land, and this would be an extension to the north of the Canterbury Heights development. This is in the northeast part of the City of Sioux Falls. And this is proposed to be for single-family residential of approximately 17 lots. Water and sewer would be extended from the south, and it is located within our existing growth area boundaries. Back in 2009, the city developed a corridor plan of looking at future east-west traffic corridors, including the potential extension of Maple Street from Rice Street over to Powderhouse Road. Maple Street would be directly to the north of this property as a section line right-of-way. It would also potentially impact the southern edge of Great Bear Recreation Park. So one of the options that we looked at for that Maple Street was to shift it to the south, which would extend it through this property. As we've received this annexation petition and we've discussed it with our own internal staff as well as with the property owner, we've reached the conclusion that that proposed Maple realignment really isn't the best option and would significantly impact this property. There's a lot of terrain topography through that area that would have to be engineered. So we've reached an agreement with the applicant that we would support moving forward with the annexation tonight, and we would continue to talk at other options, discuss other options for Maple Street, as well as connecting Sycamore over to Rice Street. So tonight, staff is prepared to support this annexation request, and that's coming from both Public Works and Planning staff.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anybody who wanted to speak to this item in the audience? Very good, Council. Councilor Erpenbach.
Just, can you highlight where Great Bear is on that map that's up there right now?
Right there, directly on the north side of the Maple Street right-of-way. There's a section line right-of-way there.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councilor Enneman.
Mike, you mentioned that you'd conducted a study, a corridor study, so to speak, here. And you did mention that in 2009 that you had recommended that Maple Street be realigned, and now you're saying that you're willing to support this because there's other options. Can you just maybe give me a hint of what other options there might be?
Sure. And in 2009, that corridor study was looking at a long-range plan. It also looked at extending Benson Road across the river over to Powder House Road, which will actually end up carrying more traffic than Maple Street would. But because of the topography in this area, it's going to be very difficult to get a direct east-west street or highway through there. So what we're looking at for other options would be to develop more of a collector street connection to the east towards Powder House Road and then to the west over towards Sycamore. Because of the topography, it's going to be a pretty low-density development in this area as well. So that's some of the rationale that we used as we talked in more detail about this idea.
And I was just kind of curious, Mayor, if I might. We've run into other areas in town where we're somewhat challenged as we look, and that's why the planning process, I think, is very beneficial when it comes to city growth and expansion, and that was why I was really curious about this.
But we still want to plan for the future traffic needs of this growth area, and we think we can still do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor, I'm so sorry, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, so as we're talking east-west roads, we're probably looking at moving north, wouldn't we, for a main road?
Well, Benson Road would be the main north road, yeah, to the north of this.
Okay, but we also have 60th Street North, which
Yes.
does go completely through the city.
Right, that would be another one, yes. And those, our long-range transportation plan actually shows Benson Road going east, and then it would connect over to Brandon to Holly Boulevard.
But going westbound, Benson stops at the airport, so, you're sort of limited there.
Yep, 60th Street would be another one, yes.
Councilor Anderson Jr., would you want to make a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Councilor Karski. There's been a motion. It has been seconded. Great discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Zentman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
That's passed 8-0. Item 51.
A resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Annexation 2014-213, Cactus Heights.
This is a petition for annexation. Scott Gilbert is the owner, and again, Pat Beckman is representing the owner as the applicant. This property is just over 9 acres in size. This is also proposed to be for future single-family residential development. And this is on the north side of this corridor study as well. And again, the same discussion that we had with the last item. We don't believe that this is the best location to reroute Maple Street, and so we're going to be looking at other options as part of this development. But we do support the annexation tonight of this property.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody want to speak to this item? Bring it. Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, where are our utilities going to hook up into this property from?
Sewer will come from the south through the Cactus Heights development, and water will be extended from the north. We have a utility easement that we can extend to this area.
That we can run through Cactus Heights?
The water main is going to be on that east side, and the sewer is already available in that area.
All right, thank you.
You guys amaze me, Mike. How you know this stuff. Crazy.
Move to approve Erpenbach.
Thank you. Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Zentman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Pass 8-0. Thank you. Item 52.
Item 52 is set a hearing date for Tuesday, May 13th, 2014 at 7:00 p.m. for a proposed resolution vacating the public right-of-way on West 19th Street from South Menlo Avenue to South Waltz Avenue as shown on Exhibit A.
Mr. Mayor, I need a close.
Thank you, Councilor.
This portion of 19th Street is an improved city street and is between Menlo Avenue and Waltz Avenue. Sanford USD Medical Center has submitted a petition to vacate this section of 19th Street and construct a parking lot from 18th Street down through 20th Street. A public meeting was held on April 4th at the Sanford campus, which was attended by a small group of neighbors. A few general questions were asked, but there was no opposition to the right-of-way vacation. Sanford has complied with our street vacation policy and will be present at the hearing on May 13th if you'd have any additional questions.
Very good. Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Chad, you're saying from 18th to 20th Street, they want to construct a parking lot?
Yeah, it'd be very similar to what's shown to the west there. That's what they did there, but now the hotel is going on a portion of that. So yes, they own everything in those two blocks, and they're proposing about 310 stalls.
Thank you.
Council, would anybody want to set a hearing date for Tuesday, May 13th for this item?
So moved, Aguilar.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Aguilar has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Entman, Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 53.
Item 53, motion to canvass the April 8th, 2014 election returns pursuant to SDCL 91324, declare the result and enter the result in the journal minutes.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori Hugstead, City Clerk. Tonight, the Sioux Falls City Council will serve in the capacity as the canvassing board and will declare the results of the City of Sioux Falls Municipal School Board election held in the City of Sioux Falls on Tuesday, April 8, 2014. The final vote totals that I will go through this evening and that you have in front of you, and they are also available to the public and our website, include the provisional ballots that were counted today at the Minnehaha County Auditor's Office. We had 34 people that voted by provisional ballot, and 23 of those were counted. Just as a reminder, a provisional ballot is cast when a voter maintains that they are a registered voter, but for some reason we are not able to locate their name on the voter registration files on election day. We then research those individuals that did submit the provisional ballot and determine if indeed they are to be tabulated or not to be tabulated. And then my last duty with those is to write letters to all of the individuals and let them know whether their vote was or was not counted and the reason why it was or was not counted. So I've been working on those tonight, and those letters will go out tomorrow. So to recap the summary sheet, precincts counted were 14, and that included our absentee precinct. We had a total number of registered voters of 97,126. Total ballots cast, 31,980. Voter turnout total, 32.93%. We'll begin. We will not do the school board. The school board will conduct their own canvass. So we will start with the mayor's race. For the mayor, for a 4-year term position, Greg Jamison received 13,939 votes. Mike Huther received 17,612 votes. Mike Huther received 55.82% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of mayor for a 4-year term. For the at-large City Council Member A 4-year term position, Rex Rolfing, 15,165 votes. Emmett Rice-Troffer, 3,881 votes. Manny Steele, 6,893 votes. Rex Rolfing received 58.46% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of at-large City Council Member A for a 4-year term. For the at-large City Council Member B 4-year term position, Christine M. Erickson, 16,337 votes. Denny Pearson, 8,793 votes. Christine M. Erickson received 65.01% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of at-large City Council Member B for a 4-year term. For the Central District City Council Member 4-year term position, Rebecca Dunn, 1,944 votes. Michelle Erpenbach, 2,967 votes. Michelle Erpenbach received 60.42% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of Central District City Council Member for a 4-year term. For the Southeast District City Council member, four-year term position, Rick Kiley, 5,098 votes. Bonita Schwan, 2,743 votes. Rick Kiley received 65.02% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of Southeast District City Council member for a four-year term. All right, now we will move on to the charter amendments. For Charter Amendment A, the yes votes were 24,511, no votes 4,382. Charter Amendment A, which amended Section 2.02, subsection C, City Council election and terms, was approved by the electorate, having received a majority of yes votes cast of 84.83% for said amendment. For Charter Amendment B, yes votes 24,233, noes 4,800. Charter Amendment B, amending Section 3.02, election and qualifications, was approved by the electorate, having received a majority of yes votes cast of 83.47% for said amendment. For Charter Amendment C, yes votes 23,835, noes 4,839. Charter Amendment C, amending Section 4.03, legal officer, was approved by the electorate, having received a majority of yes votes cast of 83.12% for said amendment. Initiated measures. For initiated measure 1, yes votes 23,545, noes 7,587. Initiated measure 1, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota to mandate the use of snow gates for removing snow from public streets, was approved by the electorate, having received a majority of yes votes cast of 75.63% for said initiative. For initiated measure 2, yes votes 9,231, noes 22,193. Initiated measure 2, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota to replace the Spelleberg swimming pool with an outdoor pool, was rejected by the electorate, having received a majority of no votes cast of 70.62% for said initiative. And then the two referred laws. For referred law 3, yes votes 18,712, noes 9,723. For referred law 3, ordinance number 9-13, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of Sioux Falls, South Dakota by adopting the Shape Places zoning ordinance, was approved by the electorate, having received a majority of yes votes cast of 65.81% for said referendum. And for referred law 4, yes votes 19,892, noes 11,093. Referred law 4, ordinance number 49-13, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the southwest corner of East 85th Street and South Minnesota Avenue from the AG Agricultural District to the C4 Planned Commercial O Office and RC Recreation Conservation District, petition number 2013-0536, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls, was approved by the electorate, having received a majority of yes votes cast of 64.20% for said referendum. Due to the fact that one candidate in the mayor's race received over 50% of the votes, it will not be necessary to hold a secondary election for that position. And due to the fact that one candidate in each of the 4 council member races received over 34% of the votes, it will not be necessary to hold a secondary election for that position. This concludes my report.
Lori, thank you very much. We don't need any public input on this, Lori?
No.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I move to approve the report and place it in the minutes.
Second, Erpenbach.
Got a motion to approve the report, place it in the minutes, has been seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor Jameson.
Two things, Lori, on the mayor's race. Are you sure you got those numbers right? Thought I would ask.
Yeah, I'm very positive, yes.
See, that's just how I am. On another note, I just wanted to be the one to congratulate Michelle Erpenbach and Rex Rolfing for their reelection, Christine Erickson for her election, and Rick Kiley for his election. And then personally congratulate the mayor on his election. Mayor, the election caused a lot of stress between us, between our families, the community, probably the city employees. I'm glad it's over. I still think these numbers might be just
inverted,
a little backwards, but congratulations to you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Has passed 8-0. Council, any other items?
Move adjournment. Aguilar.
Second, Karski.
There's been a motion to adjourn. It has been seconded. Before we do, Boy Scouts, I don't think we've ever had Boy Scouts here till 10 minutes to 9, ever. If you wouldn't mind standing, we'll give you just a round of applause. And also, I know we've got USF students. If you just wave to the crowd, please.
There you go.
Thank you, USF students. I know you've been up past 9 before, so. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned, Sioux Falls. Make it a great night.